All right, everyone, I'm going to call us to order at 5:30. Any emergent changes to the agenda? Recommendation that the September 7, 2021 special board meeting agenda be approved by the Board of Trustees as presented or amended. Can I get someone to make that motion, please? Trustee Agus. Any opposed? Seeing none. Any declaration of conflict of interest? Seeing none. On to our items. D1, our 2021-2022 school year plan. I will now turn it over to Mr. Seguin to take us through this.
Great, thank you, and good evening, everyone. It's always good to see you. We've met a lot in the last couple of weeks. I think we felt like last year, the COVID year was super busy, and we were meeting often and that sort of thing, and we were hopeful that things would quiet down, but there's been lots to meet about this year. I will share a presentation with you. There's some thoughts, and I will take you through that, and then certainly we can open it up to questions if that's okay. Chair Hodges, does that sound like a good approach? Okay.
Perfect.
I will try to share my screen here. Oh, where did it go? That's not good. Can't minimize Zoom when I'm recording. Okay. Let me double check here.
Do you want one of us to share it, Daryl? Do you want me to pull it up and share it quick?
That might be a good idea.
Okay, I'll pull it up quick. You see if you can make any headway, and I'll pull it up. And if you don't have it, then I'll just share my screen quick.
Okay, you should be good to go now.
Okay, just let me get into it here.
I haven't tried to record and share my screen at the same time.
Yes, that is fun. Okay, emails. Of course, now it's not logged in. I'm just logging in here quick. And there we go. Okay. Okay, open. Okay, now I'm just coming back to share my screen quick. Sorry about this, guys. Next. No. Okay, sorry, it was just having me log in again here. Now I've got it.
Okay.
And where's my Zoom meeting? Okay. And share content, share my screen. Zoom, start broadcast, 3, 2, 1. Okay, oops, sorry about that. All right, do you guys have it there?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
perfect.
I'm not interested. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you could probably just hit the present part if you want, and then I'll just let you know when to click through. So perfect.
Whatever you like, you just tell me when to go.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate that.
And
all right.
I'm sorry, I can't go back to mute myself. So Lori, if you want to go ahead and mute me, that'd be great.
If I can. I'm not a Daryl has to make me a co-host.
Oh boy.
Okay, never mind. Never mind. I'll just go mute myself quick.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so on Friday, September 3rd, the Alberta government announced new temporary health restrictions for the province. Now, as school divisions, superintendents, we didn't receive any advance notice of that announcement. So I know that some people heard the announcement at like 11:30, and by noon they were asking, what the division plan was and that sort of thing, and we had no idea that this was coming or what it would involve anyway. So the direction came regarding several restrictions that were given. However, school boards were also given at that time the latitude to set their own requirements. Since students returned in August to Livingston Range, we have been following the Chief Medical Officers of Health expert opinion and as our guidance for our school division and operations. So in that time, right from the beginning of August, Lacey, you want to just stay on the first slide there? Okay, perfect. From the beginning of August, we've had several parents express their opinions about, how the school board should respond with students returning to school this year. And that has not stopped with this most recent announcement. As you know, some feel very strongly that masks should be mandated in schools for the safety of everyone. Some comments from parents indicate that, the students under 12 are vulnerable as they currently don't qualify for the vaccinations, and masks should be mandated to ensure their child's protection. These parents also express that masks are required in all other public places, including shopping malls and grocery stores and etc., and therefore they should be required in schools as well. Now, on the opposite side of that, we also have several parents who feel very strongly that the children should experience a normal school year, that those that do contract COVID in the younger years have more minimal impact, I guess, from COVID, and therefore the school board should not require masking in schools. We also have some parents that feel that mandating masks is detrimental to their children's mental health. Some feel that vaccines are unsafe and they're opposed to vaccinations in general. It's needless to say, the pandemic has been very divisive. There are different comfort levels and different points of view on the various health restrictions and safety practices in place, not only in schools, but around the province as well. So as the information is presented to the board for consideration, I know that the board will look through the lens of wellness, encompassing both physical health needs as well as mental health needs, as both are important considerations. I've had conversations with many superintendents across the province. A lot have made some decisions and put that out on the weekend. Others are meeting with their boards today or tomorrow. I've also met with our senior administration team at division office. And this morning I met with our school-based administrators to gain their perspective and can share some of that with you as we go through the presentation. All right, the next slide there, Trustee Poitras. So this is just, the first few slides are some information, things that we are watching. And certainly, you know this from listening to the news and hearing the different things that are going around in the province, that we're experiencing that fourth wave right now in Alberta. And so it's trending upward. I think today's count, there were 15,000 active cases, a little over 15,000 active cases in the province. So it is heading towards increasing numbers for sure in the trends. Okay, next slide. These two charts here, or graphs, I guess, are the cases reported in the last week with a breakdown of the ages there. And particularly we look at the grade, the kids in school, so K to 12, roughly the 5 to 9 and the 10 to 19-year-olds. You can see them on the left. And then if we look at the total active cases out of those 15,000 plus in the province, where what age range has the case numbers. And so again, you can see what's happening with the ages 5 to 9 and the 10 to 19-year-olds. All right, if we move to the next slide. This is a slide showing the cases by zone. And so you can see in the South Zone, we have the lowest number of cases in the province. Although, like every zone, cases are increasing. We're slightly behind the Central Zone there. All right, the next slide. So you have to remember when we look at this that numbers, especially the chart on the right, changes daily. But the information that I was able to gather at the time was from, I think, last Friday. And so certainly I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers are different if we could gather that information today. But this is the current vaccination rates of 12 to 19-year-olds who are either with a single dose or fully vaccinated within our school boundaries. And you can see it, the breakdown there by community. The Nanton community, I don't have the exact numbers there. I believe on the map that I'm looking at with Alberta, the Alberta COVID site, I believe Nanton is grouped in with High River, so it's hard for me to disaggregate that and know exactly the number of cases there. but they often report, Waterton, the MD of Willow Creek, which includes Fort McLeod. So 25 of those 58 on Friday were from Fort McLeod. And then the MD of Pincher Creek with 43, and the MD of the Crow's Nest Pass at 8 at that time. All right, let's go to the next slide. So these, in summary, these are the provincial requirements that were announced on Friday. So these were announced as temporary measures to reduce transmission and prevent the healthcare system from being overwhelmed. In that announcement, we heard the following: masks are mandatory in all public spaces and workplaces. Employees must mask in all indoor work settings, except when they're in their workstations. Albertans are encouraged to limit in-person contacts. Unvaccinated Albertans are strongly recommended to limit indoor social gatherings. Masking is mandatory for everyone on the school bus. That hasn't changed. And then this part, which really applies to school boards, schools are not required to implement masking, but school boards will continue to set COVID-19 management policies as they deem appropriate. All right, just a couple more slides. Let's go to the next one. So, like I mentioned, I have been conversing with other superintendents around the province, met with our school-based administrators today, and then our senior leadership in Livingston Range, and that includes our directors, our associates, our communications personnel, and our OH&S coordinator, Laura Stalker also, and directors of finance. So we had a team meeting this morning, listened into the information discussed from school administrators, and then we took that information and are presenting this direction as a possible direction to the trustees tonight. So we've followed Dr. Hinshaw and relied on her medical expertise in the past, and she has the training, the education, the background. She watches the data constantly in this area, and she is the expert. And so our recommendation would be that LRSD continues to follow the Chief Medical Officer of Health guidance. So that would mean students and staff, mask use in LRSD would continue to be voluntary. We would encourage and support those families and individuals and staff wishing to continue to wear a mask, and wherever they chose to wear that. All visitors, including parents, would wear a mask while in the school. So if parents were coming in to drop off, pick up their child, to sign any forms, drop off a lunch, if they were a guest presenter, they would be expected to wear masks. Masks would be mandatory in division office, except while employees are in their individual workstations. Indoor school-wide events like school-wide assemblies where social distancing wouldn't be possible, then those should be postponed. Outdoor events could continue. Just going back to context, for example, the students in Granham School, it's a very large gym, smaller number of students. They could feasibly and very reasonably fit all of their school population in the gym with some spreading out. And so they could continue to do a school-wide assembly, for example, but it would be based on that local context for sure. Extracurricular, masking would be strongly recommended, but not mandated for everyone not actively participating. So meaning the athletes and the officials wouldn't have to mask, yes, strongly recommended and not mandated for everyone not actively participating. We could just take that out, obviously, the athletes and officials there. School administration would continue to monitor attendance daily. And if there are absences of 10% or greater, just like at any other time, they would report that to AHS if those absences were deemed to be for illness. And the principal would report that. They would let us know at division office as well. We would talk with AHS and determine if additional controls would be required. So what could that be? If we didn't have sanitizing in place, then they might say we need to enhance the sanitizing available or enhance the cleaning and disinfecting. Now we've already got those things in place, but they could go to recommend a school or a school community implement masking or cohorting or limit the extracurricular activities, for example, as further measures of control for a certain period of time to try and make sure that the case count in that area and the illnesses are clearing up and things can return to more normal. All right, and then the last slide, then we can open it up for some questions. This is right from our back to school plan. So nothing would change here, but just a reiteration of some of the practices that we've got in place right now. And lots of these things were from the back to school plan that the Alberta government also included. And we are promoting and facilitating hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette in our schools. We have enhanced cleaning, so extra custodial time, cleaning and disinfecting the high touch surfaces more regularly and frequently. We are encouraging parents to keep their children home when sick, and staff the same. When they are sick and have symptoms, to stay home. Students, visitors, and staff will be expected to use the Alberta Health Daily Checklist to determine if they should attend or stay home. And then the HVAC systems that we've got going in the division, just keep those maintained and efficient. With that, I think you could probably stop sharing the screen for now. And we could open it up to questions. And I would certainly ask that the other members of my team feel free to jump in and help answer questions. I know that there could be a lot, and so it might be a team approach to answering and providing more information for you.
Thank you, Mr. Seguin. Open up the floor now to questions. Trustee Toon.
Just a question on process, Madam Chair. Are we voting on these recommendations that we continue with this, or is this just for discussion?
Lori, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Right now it's a discussion item, as we already have a motion stating that we were going to be returning, that we already are not wearing masks. If anything comes out of this discussion that we need to make a motion, if anything's changing, then I think that we can put a motion on the floor at that time.
Perfect, thank you.
Trustee Poitras.
Thanks. So I wanted to just make a couple comments and just say that we've been hearing a lot as administrators, I'm sure teachers, and also as trustees from our community, and it's very vast and diverse, being people wanting masks, not wanting masks, like you said with the vaccines. And it was really difficult when I heard this announcement on Friday to hear, it's not mandated in schools, but we're going to leave that up to the school boards, is kind of what I originally heard. But as we look back on it, and I say we're not mandating it in schools, but school boards can continue to monitor their COVID-19 policies. And so they know we already have those policies in place. And it's a difficult thing because we've got a lot of experts here today in education and lots of different areas, but we don't have medical experts here today. And so I really felt strongly coming into this decision, and, we've reached out to, try and get as much input from AHS or from the ministries as we can. And we've really had to rely on Dr. Hinshaw, AHS, and their recommendations. And at this point, I just feel so strongly that they haven't led us astray in the past. And if we continue to follow them and follow the ministries and Dr. Hinshaw, as they say, this is what's best for our communities. This is what's going to keep us safest. And right now, we don't feel it's necessary to mandate masks in schools. I feel it's so important that we just continue to follow what they say and do what we can, because they are the experts in this field. So I'm so glad that that you guys have reached out to the administrators. You've heard from parents, you've heard from teachers. We have as well. And I just think that allowing people to wear masks when they want to and choose to, and making sure that there isn't bullying going on at school, that people understand. Teachers are still helping kids understand You know, there are things that are personal and private that we don't ask other students about and we don't comment about, and bullying is never acceptable in our division, whether it's about a mask or someone's clothes or anything. We don't accept bullying. And so, you know, I think this is a good discussion that we're having here today. And I think that, you know, following Dr. Hinshaw is a good move because, you know, we're not the experts. So.
Thank you, Trustee Poitras. Trustee Long?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was surprised to see how low the vaccination rate is in our 12 to 18-year-olds. And I just wonder if I could make a giant leap and say that might show that our parents in our Livingston rural communities are not pro-masking. If they're not pro-vaccination, then I doubt they're pro-masking. And so, yeah, what do the majority of people want? I've been getting 3, 4, 5 contacts a day, and all but one have wanted us to go back to masking. And yet you see how low the vaccination rate is. So I'm not sure the majority of people would want masks. Personally, I would like to see our K to 6s wearing masks, but I don't know if that's what our parents would want. And I'll just ask a question. Somebody clarify something for me before I turn off. Mask wearing is meant so that you don't spread something if you're not feeling well, but a mask does not prevent you from inhaling COVID, does it?
Yeah, like kind of the research behind it says you wear a mask to protect other people, not yourself, is what I understand.
Was there anything else that was different than that, or Mr. Seguin or Mr. Feller? Or
No, I should have said earlier, so I'll just jump in now. The conversation with our school-based administrators, I just want to make sure that I'm portraying their perspective fairly. It certainly wasn't unanimous all towards this sort of recommendation. There was a diversity of opinions, much like there is out there in our schools and in our communities. But we took their perspective and we listened to the rationale and then had further conversation, like I mentioned, in our senior admin team. And this is not an easy decision, as Trustee Poitras mentioned. I mean, we're not the medical experts, and it's really frustrating that this sort of decision is being placed on school boards across the province, because you see what's happening out there is very, there's a vast array of different approaches to this. And, maybe some local context there in the decision-making is beneficial, but something of this magnitude, we always want to rely on the medical professionals, and Dr. Hinshaw is that voice in Alberta, and that's her role. And so that's why we landed where we did with this. We know that there are differing opinions, and there won't be people pleased with that decision, just as Trustee Long mentioned. If we decided something different, there would be people upset with that too. So there's no right answer that's going to sit well with most people. It's very divisive, but I just wanted to make sure that the board understood that even though this recommendation is being brought before you today, it's not that it was unanimous by our school-based administrators. There were differing points of view there too.
thank you, Mr. Seguin. We have Trustee McKee.
Okay, I'm good to go. Interesting perspective. A lot of your larger school boards, like Calgary board, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have mandated a masking now to what that totally involves, I mean, they probably have some, side rules in there as well, and when you have to have masks and as such. But when you get a big school board like that, the public kind of goes like, well, if you got most of the students, like Calgary and them are mandating masks, like why aren't you? And so like the public perspective, is certainly might lead someone to think that, if someone big is doing it, why is a smaller jurisdiction not mandating masks as well? And another thing, if you're mandating masks on school bus, I mean, and then why aren't you mandating, the masks in the schools? And then going the other way, like let's say that you have masks in the schools and you go to your classroom and have lunch, like you have to take your mask off. And if there's no special distancing going on, like, are you really accomplishing anything? So, wow, it's kind of, all over the place with should you not? So I'll just leave it at that. And that's my starting point of view anyway.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Is there any response?
I think John's comments capture the difference that's out there, right? There's both sides to this. There's not one easy way through this, as Dr. Hinshaw has mentioned before. But we're just relying on her expertise in this area when we bring this recommendation to you at this time.
Thank you. Trustee Toon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to echo some of the previous comments, thanking our administration for the work on this. I know I'm speaking with other neighboring boards and grasslands and some of the other ones around are taking a similar stance to us continuing on with the current mandates that we've been given from the province, given our rural context. But it's a lot harder for us as smaller jurisdictions, as Trustee McKee spoke to, that the larger divisions actually contract doctors out to get some of that local expertise on medical matters, because they don't have that being educators. But I know this is a difficult situation, but I've also had a lot of parents and families reach out and got a diverse set of opinions on it. But the majority of my area are asking that we continue on with what we've established for this school year of making it be optional. And as Trustee Put just stated, that supporting those whomever choose to mask or not mask, and making sure that our schools always remain the safe and caring and welcoming places that we love and celebrate in our communities. And I really appreciate administration allowing the flexibility locally to, as was stated with the assemblies in Grantham and things of that nature, that we can accommodate in because of our local tech context. The one question I'd have would be around transportation. There came out some guidelines about transportation and allowing for some exemptions with that. Will we be requesting any exemptions on the transportation side of masking and protocols?
You mind if I?
Yep, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Toon. Appreciate that. I can share a couple of things because they've been made public on either today or on the weekend sometime. But I would say that the overall number of school divisions in the province that would take the position that we're recommending right now is smaller, for sure. When you look at most of the school divisions out there, Grasslands, Christ the Redeemer, Golden Hills, Port Vermilion, and I think Clearview, and these are more, well, Golden Hills maybe not so much. Christ the Redeemer's more geographically spread out. Grasslands similar to us. Port Vermilion, similar kind of thing with large geography, and Clearview as well. So boards that are more similar to our demographic and configuration, I guess, would be making a decision similar to the one that we're bringing for for you to consider here tonight. So that's on that side of it. But as Trustee Toon mentioned, I mean, our schools for the most part are underutilized, and so we have more space than some of the other urban or rural school divisions. And I'm not saying that COVID can't transmit. We know that it can. It doesn't take much for sure with the Delta variant. So, you know, there are still chances and likelihood of students and staff, individuals within our school system contracting COVID, but we have some things that other school divisions don't. And so I'll just leave it at that for sure. Now, I guess the last thing I would say on that before I move to the bus exemption thing is that this would be, if the board approves this, this would be our position right now. You know, in 2 weeks' time, it could be different. We would continually watch the situation and talk with our local public health people and AHS and listen for any more direction from Dr. Hinshaw for sure. It's not to say that this decision that you're making tonight would be the way it will be for the rest of the school year either. And so we want to hopefully bring some reassurance to parents if this decision goes through and passes, that, you know, this is for now, and we will continue to monitor it and adjust as the situation evolves. With the busing exemption, that information just came out recently as well, and so I know our transportation department and Jeff and Laura are looking at that to see what it involves, and so more information could be coming to the board on that. I believe the process, if I remember correctly, is that a plan would be developed and would be presented to the board for approval and posted on our website, and the information sent to Alberta Education as well. So there is a regulation or some document that came out where there is, if we develop a plan, and I haven't, I've only skimmed it, but I think it's something to do with if you're 2 meters from another individual who's not of your household, and if that kind of bus seating plan can be arranged, then maybe there's no masking on the bus. But we'll have to check into that more and see if whether it's even feasible or reasonable for us to do on our buses. But yeah, we'll leave that with the transportation department and OH&S to look at, and then we'll get back to you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
appreciate
Toon.
that.
Was there anything else, Trustee Toon?
No, that covers it. Thank you.
Trustee Yegas?
Thank you. And thank you, Daryl and Richard and Chad for putting this together. I guess there's a couple things, well, there's more than couple, but anyhow, first of all, there's nothing about social distancing on here, so I assume that we're not going to be looking at the social distancing part of it. And you could just think of these, and I'll you know, there's a few other questions I have in regards to it. So I guess one of the things is, are we going to be talking about social distancing? The second one is thank you for mentioning that about the administrators. That was one of my areas that I was thinking about, was how adamant were the administrators in terms of masking or non-masking. And I could see that there could be a lot of, I could see that there could be diversity in those. And it'd be interesting. And the other one I would like to know is, how do the administrators for the young students, like, you know, K-3 versus the older students feel about the masking? Like would the teachers feel that it isn't important, or I'm sorry, the administrators, it isn't important for K-3, but more important for grades 4 and up. And just in response to some things, we talk about Henshaw in terms of her expertise, and yes, she does have the expertise, but if you know, they haven't mandated that churches wear masks. And it's really interesting, given the political situation, that both churches and schools are left out of the masking one. And I have, you know, you really wonder why in this case. the other thing is we don't know the effects. I mean, a child might not get really sick with COVID. They'll get it, they might not get sick. We don't know the long-term effect on it. And, you know, what it could be or what could happen in the future. If you have masks, I guess if we do the masks now, what we're doing is taking the precaution and looking after the students now, not in the future. I mean, 2 weeks from now, if there's a case increase, but sometimes, you know, the horse has already left the barn. So what's the purpose? I always think we got to look at what we can do now. So so if you could respond to the one about the principals and that, the administrators, and the other one. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Higgis. Mr. Seguin, are you responding?
Yeah, for sure. I can jump in and I'll ask my teammates here, other senior admin to help out if I miss anything or if they have something else to add. So, you know, the masking, I would say it didn't really matter in the discussions whether there was a principal of an elementary school as opposed to a principal of a high school. I would say there were both opinions at both levels. One of our schools has the majority of their staff choosing to mask right now. And so almost all of the staff wear masks, whereas we have another that was one elementary school. We have another elementary school where there might be one staff member that's masking. So we have complete opposites there as well. Some school administrators would probably feel more comfortable if everyone was masked. And we have other school administrators who say with the little ones, it's really important that the students be able to see the teachers' facial expressions and the way they're forming their lips are forming the words, the letters, and that sort of thing as well. And so there's both sides of this, Trustee Yagos. It's not leaning towards one opinion or another. Yeah, there's both on that spectrum. Let's see, as far as social distancing, our schools know, I guess, enough about COVID, and it's left to individual schools, principals based on their context. And that's something that, you know, I think we try to encourage as much as possible, given the context and the classroom and that sort of thing. But right now that is left up to an individual school administrator, whether, you know, how much room they can have kids apart in a classroom. We don't have, you know, enough individual desks in our whole division for everybody to sit in rows either. We've got tables, and that's just kind of the way education has gone over the last year, being more cooperative and collaborative. So we don't even have enough individual desks to spread them all out, nor the classroom space in all classrooms to be able to do that. So that's been left to administrators to do what they feel is best given the context in their school. Richard and Chad or Jeff, any other thoughts, any other points that I missed? Okay. Hopefully that helps, Trustee Yagos.
Trustee Higgis, was there anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you did have the social distancing last year, though. So I was wondering if why,
Yeah.
you know, that wasn't put in, that, you know, to the best of their ability, they do social distancing. It's just a point I wanted to make.
Yeah, last year when this first started, we did take more of one end of the continuum, I think, and we removed everything that we possibly could, except those things that were ultimately necessary to function in your classroom. So they had different stations and different pieces of furniture and that sort of thing that we tried to clear out to create that physical distance as much as possible. And when the province announced near normal return to school, then, you know, depending on the school, how much they brought back in of that. So I can't say with any certainty right now, you know, how much schools are doing, but it's left in their hands to determine, you know, based on the classroom context, what's appropriate. They can certainly remove things if they felt like it was, you know, unsafe or it was necessary. They could remove that from the classroom again. Richard?
Just to add to that, to remember, last year we had many of our students that were learning from home, online learning, and so most of those students have come back to us. So we do have a larger number of students that are attending because the parents have chosen to send them back to near normal conditions. So it is a little bit more difficult to do the physical distancing in some schools or some classes, I guess. But again, the administration knows the space that they have and where these things can be dealt with. We know they will be.
Thank you.
I wonder if now, before we go to the next question, if you're okay with this, Madam Chair, wonder if Chad could just maybe jump in and talk about the numbers of students and the configuration that we have in virtual school as an option, because we know that some families, if this decision is made tonight, and it has been our practice right now, they might not feel comfortable continuing on. And so maybe just if Chad could take a moment and just talk to you a little bit about our virtual school and what that looks like right now.
Trustee Burdette and Trustee Long, are you okay to wait, or would you like, okay, so Mr. Chad Kuzik, would you like to present?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Right now at our high school, we have a 90 FTE equivalent status of students that are located in our high school taking it virtually. So we do have space inside that place to expand that. You know, we had close to 400 students last year in the same space, and we don't have as many teachers, but we can add to it. So the infrastructure is set up for high school. We didn't run initially as grades 1 to 7 virtual school because the numbers weren't there. We had less than 10 that wanted to attend, but as things have picked up here, we have a little bit more, but right now we only have 11 officially attending virtual school from grades 1 to 7. So we do have space that will be run out of the Grantham School. So we do have space inside that. And again, having the platform and having the infrastructure in place, we can, by adding more teachers, be able to support students that choose to learn from home at this time. Yeah.
Sorry, trying to unmute myself. Thank you, Mr. Kuzik. Trustee Burdette?
Unmute. There's
Yeah.
my unmute. So actually I support I support following the recommendation. I'm not exactly sure that masks are the be all end all. We had masking mandates in place for the last 2 spikes in COVID, and the spikes still came. And when we closed things down and sent people home, the spikes went down. And so I'm okay with that. That's fine. I mean, to let people who want to wear a mask, and to let those kids who don't want to be that way. But I think it's really, really important that we be diligent on the side of making sure that when people have COVID, when one kid in a family has COVID, that all the kids stay home and all the parents stay home and they stay there until it's gone. Because I really think that's key for the spread is to keep sick kids at home and sick teachers at home and whatever. And if they do get tested and they do have COVID, then their whole family should stay there until it's gone. Because, because one kid's not sick doesn't mean they're not carrying it, right? And so, I think that's probably the important thing that we need to do. I think our protocols are good, our cleaning protocols and all of that stuff are good. And I think we need to be really diligent on making sure that if somebody shows up at school coughing their head off, that they go home. I think that kind of stuff needs to be the diligent part of what we do. I'm not an anti-vaxxer because I'm vaccinated, but I hate masks. So I don't like to wear them. And so I'm lucky because my job's outside and I don't have to wear them. But I can see where, and like I said, you look at the stats through the last 2 spikes in COVID, and we had a mask mandate the whole time. And it was the other things that actually brought COVID under control. So I'm not exactly sure that making everybody mask up is going to make a big difference. I think it's better that they stay home and follow the other guidelines and not socialize as crazy as we during this spike. We need to show some restraint and stick within our families and, you know, try to do the things like that. So that's my opinion. And I didn't really have a question, so there.
One of these times. Thank you, Trustee Burdette. Trustee Long and then Trustee Poitras.
So the conversation I had with parents and Lacey today is directly related to what Jim was just discussing, and that's that there isn't any contact tracing anymore. Parents don't have to let us know, and neither does Alberta Health Services. So there isn't any way legally for us to know if a student or a teacher has COVID unless they come forward and tell us. And even then, we can't share that information without permission from that person or the parents, because that's personal health records. So you can have staff, you can have students in the class with COVID, and we might not ever know, never mind contact tracing. Doesn't exist anymore. So that doesn't help us very much.
Thank you, Trustee Long. Trustee Poitras.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, there's a lot of really interesting conversations, like comments going on here and stuff. And I think it's really important. We're talking a lot about, you know, how we feel like masks help. We feel like masks don't help. We feel like our families should all stay home. And I think we could talk about it all night. I'd love to sit here and discuss how everyone feels about all the different protocols, you know, and Clara is saying, you know, we got to do what we can do today and masks might help. Well, maybe vaccinating every kid might help, but we can't mandate that. We can't say you have to be vaccinated to come to our schools, and we don't know the side effects from that either long term. So I think what we need to remember is that we're not trying to please parents, because we're not going to please all of our parents. We're not going to, you know, maybe not come to a consensus here today to please each other, but in our school division, we are every student, and we are doing everything that we can as a school division to keep our kids in a safe and caring environment. And safe is physically safe. We have to go with what the experts are saying. And right now, Dr. Hinshaw, she's the expert that we have. And we also have
You're freezing up there, Lacey.
Sorry, I'm low battery. Can you hear me okay?
No, you're really cutting out now. And you're frozen.
Can you hear me now?
No. Maybe we'll just wait a minute. Trustee Poitras, you're still frozen on our screen, and I'll come back to you as soon as you can get back on the screen there, because you're still frozen. So I'm just going to, because I feel it's important that you want to finish your thought.
To see if I can on my phone.
Okay, I'm just gonna Trustee Yegas, and then I'll jump back to Trustee Poitras when she comes back on.
Yes, and I totally understand what Trustee Poitras is saying in terms of what the parents are and what people are saying and how they feel about the masking and things like that. And yes, I guess I mean, given this period of time and everything, yes, we are we are concerned about what the parents are going to say and everything else. But I think our main concern, and I hope it's all our main concern, is the students and the safety of our students, not now, but in the future too. So I think that is really important. And I guess my question though, when I can't remember who was talking about this, was, are we going to be, is there any way that we're going to be doing any kind of spot check testing of students just to like within the schools, or is that totally, we cannot do that now or anything? Because it'll be interesting if we're not even going to have any kind of testing.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that there's not any of that available. I'm not the AHS, but I'm pretty sure that Trustee Yegas, that's not something, they're not doing contact tracing. They're not doing spot checks. If a family feels they have COVID or a person, they go get tested themselves. If there's anybody else who has any of a different answer, then please feel free to jump in. So yeah, sorry, Trustee, I guess that's as much as I think we all know, but I'm pretty sure that there's no spot testing at all.
Well, it'll be interesting to know if there is, or if anybody like the schools, because they did have those fast tests and everything else, and they were going out, and if they're still around, and if any of the school boards are going to be doing them, especially the big ones. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that you can still go get the fast test, but again, that's just a personal choice and you'd have to go and do it yourself and then wait for the results. As Mr. Seguin said earlier, if a school is missing by 10%, again, Alberta Health Services will be contacted that way, but again, not necessarily will we know that it's from COVID or the flu or anything. So Trustee Toon just in the chat box said rapid testing was just a pilot project. So thank you, Trustee Toon. We'll finish up with Trustee Poitras and then we'll go to Trustee McKee. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, thank you.
I didn't even move. Anyways, I'm not sure what you got, but I think it's really important for us to remember that we're focused on every student every day, and none of us are experts. We don't have all the statistics on masking. We don't know the class sizes of some of the schools that are making masks mandatory compared to our class sizes. And, we really, really need to follow what the experts are saying. And, they might not be our favorite experts. We might disagree with what they're saying, but from the beginning of the pandemic till now, they've gotten us through and they've gotten us to where we are. We can't mandate contact tracing, we can't say, you've got COVID and so your whole family has to stay home. The government is saying that anyone who has COVID needs to isolate, but even their members of their household, close contacts, and we recently had COVID and the government told us, no, don't reach out to anyone. You don't need, or not the government, when AHS called us, you don't need to call anyone. You don't need to let them know that you had COVID. You don't need to let the school know. And that was our choice then we chose to let people know, we've got COVID if you're feeling sick and you've been around us, but we can't as a school division mandate that. And so the best thing that we can do is, we have to just put our opinions at the side, whether it's political or whatever it is, and we have to follow the health experts. And right now they're saying it's not mandated to wear masks in school. That's not something we need to do at this time. We know that the government won't hesitate to call a meeting at any time if they feel like something needs to change and change it. And that's happened multiple times. We could be wearing masks in 2 weeks. We could be mandated to be vaccinated. Like, who knows? It could be anything. We could all be locked down in our houses for the next 6 months. But right now, we have to continue to follow what they're saying because we can't just go off what each of us individually think. We have to do what's best for our students, and that's follow the health directors. So that's just my thoughts and opinions as we have these conversations, which are really interesting. But when it comes right down to it, who are we to make these decisions,
Thank you, Trustee Poitras. Trustee McKee?
Yeah, it's interesting. I personally know of some cases, in my surrounding area. Some people have tested positive and they're not showing a whole lot of, symptoms. They're And so my point is that I think there's a lot more COVID present than what the stats are indicating. I think a lot of people are not being tested now because they really don't have to, though. So they don't have to. So I think it's way more prevalent than what people actually know is going on. That's the first thing. What else? And now there doesn't really appear to be a whole lot of social distancing going on, at least in a lot of major events now, or the people are supposed to be wearing masks. So that's another thing. As for a Jim's statement about the siblings staying at home, if one child is sick, the other ones are supposed to be self-quarantining for a while. I'm not sure how prevalent that is as well. If in some cases, like people don't even know that they're that like they're asymptomatic. So I mean, if you're not showing any symptoms, possibly some of the siblings are returning to school, because they don't have to stay at home. And so I don't know, to me, like, if everything else is kind of wide open, maybe the least we could do is to have masks, where people are meeting, like in larger groups or closer together, like at schools. So maybe masking is not a bad thing to have at a school where you have people very close together. I know they're not wearing their masks all the time, but I guess something would be, better than just leaving it wide open. That's my thoughts again.
Thank you, Trustee McKee. I think we've had a really great discussion here tonight. And unless there's any more recommendations coming out that we change the procedure that we have in place from anyone, I think we'll just remain to follow the procedures, the back to school 2021-22 school plan that we already had in place for our schools. I'm feeling a little bit like we should have maybe, and Trustee Toon asked for process at the beginning. I'm wondering if we just need like the recommendation coming forward that we remain the same as the plans, and then we can have a vote on it. I'm feeling like maybe that might be a better process, and I'm sorry that I kind of maybe dropped the ball on that one. So, but we have just two comments here. If it's around the question that I asked, Trustee Yegus and then Trustee Poitras.
I think we should put a motion on the floor and then vote on it. Okay, I think that would be the fair way to do it, and to let everybody know what we're thinking.
Thank you, Trustee Yegus. Trustee Poitras.
Yeah, I think that a motion would be great, even though we're not changing anything. But I also think that it would be important maybe in that motion to include that we would like to maybe send a letter or post it on our website, something reiterating that in light of the announcement, we have met as a board, senior admin has met, and we have discussed it and decided to whatever we decide to do. I think it would be pertinent to let everyone know that this meeting did happen. We haven't just skipped over the announcement and ignored it. It has been addressed and discussed, and this is the conclusion that we've come to. As so many of us have had requests on the phone, email, in person as to what are you guys doing? What are you deciding? So I think it'd be great to have some type of letter or address that we can send out and refer to people, but also that just lets people know that we've met and come to this decision.
Thank you, Trustee Poitras. So just wordsmithing here, recommendation that the 2021-2022 school year plan remain in place and a letter be sent out to parents. Does that cover everything okay? Was there anything else that we should add to that? Trustee Long?
Should the letter be on that recommendation? Because we might support the recommendation to follow the policies or not support it one way or the other, but we might also support the letter. I think that's pretty important, the letter. So I think they shouldn't be tied together. I don't know if the letter has to be a recommendation.
I agree.
Okay. Trustee Toon, did you have something to say?
I'm sorry, my phone reset there, so I missed the
Oh.
last minute.
Oh, so sorry. Did you hear the recommendation at all, or
No.
just talk about the letter? Okay, Trustee Poitras just thought maybe a letter would be wise to send out to parents, just explaining that we met and that and just go maybe just reiterate the cleaning and stuff that we're doing. The recommendation that I threw the two together in the one recommendation, but Trustee Long and Yegus decided that it should be separate. So I have a recommendation possibly on the floor for that the 2020-22 school year plan remain in place. Is there anything else that I thought should be added to that?
No, so we're gonna vote on the plan remaining in place and then vote on the letter afterwards.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Everyone's okay with the recommendation? Okay, can I get someone?
Oh, I'm
Just one question, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Just wondering if you want an effective date. And the reason I ask is, to put out something and require that it become, no, I guess, sorry, there's no changes. So then
No.
it would just continue on. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Toon, I saw your hand go up. Did you?
Oh, you just asked for somebody wanting to make the motion.
Oh.
I put my hand up for that. Then I lowered it because a discussion started. But I would be
Okay.
willing to make the motion.
Thank you very much. All right, we have a recommendation on the floor that the 2021-2022 school year plan remain in place. Trustee Toon has made the motion. Would you like to speak to it at all, Trustee Toon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we discussed, really huge kudos go out to administration and all the staff in our schools, teachers and all support staff for their diligent effort in making our schools as safe as they are, and then possibly can be for our kids and our communities. And I want to thank everyone for those efforts and how hard it's been the last year plus to make those things happen. But given the expert advice that we have up at this time, I feel that this is what we should be doing following the provincial guidelines.
Thank you, Trustee Toon. Trustee Yegus, I see your hand up.
I just wanted to say I'd like to have a record of the,
Recorded
the-
decision.
of the decisions of the trustees. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Trustee Toon, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or are you good with your
No,
comments?
thank you. Yeah, I think we had a great discussion on it earlier.
Perfect. I'm going to call the question. Any opposed? All righty, passed. Thank you, everyone. Trustee Poitras? Yep. Would you like to make the next motion?
Yeah. I would like to make a motion that the board direct the advocacy committee to meet and write a letter to go out to parents in regards to our meeting tonight and the decision to continue on with our 2021-2022 school plan as outlined in August. You can make that sound as good as possible with your wordsmithing there, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Toon, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I appreciate Trustee Poitras bringing this up. I think it's important to always continue the lines of communication with our school community members and our communities. And like Superintendent Seguin said, this is our plan right now, and things can change and a lot can happen. But reiterating to our public that we feel that this plan addresses our current needs is, I think, an important step.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to capture the motion, and then I'll let you speak, Trustee Yegas, unless you had something that was going into the motion.
Yeah, it's regarding the motion. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what I was going to say is, as I know that the motion's been passed, and so as a board, we have to accept the motion and everything else. But I'd like maybe in the letter to say that there was a discussion on it, you know, that we had a lively discussion or something like that, to just show that you know, we just didn't accept this blindly, that there were people who were questioning and making comments and things like that.
Thank you, Trustee Yegas. Most definitely the letter will be, the advocacy committee can have a great discussion around that. And again, as always, it'll be shared with the board prior to it going out. So Trustee Poitras, did you have anything else? Because right now I just have the motion. Would like the Trustee Poitras, a recommendation that the advocacy committee write a letter to parents. What was the last part of that?
I would say write a letter to parents regarding our meeting on September 7th and the decision to continue with our 2021-2022 school year plan. And yes, Clara, I think that that's so important. And one of the main reasons we want to send this letter is so everyone knows that, you know, we didn't just say, what, there was an announcement? Well, we already have a plan, put it through. We want them to know that we came here, we sat, we had, you know, stuff shared with us from administration, the principals had input, and we came here and had this discussion, a fulsome discussion, and decided that this is what's right for right now, but that could change moving forward. And I think that that's why we need to send out the letter, so that people know that this happened, and, you know, they can look it up, that they can come online and see this exact discussion that's been recorded if they would like to. So that I totally agree, Clara, that needs to be part of the letter. So thank you.
So, okay, we still need to get this motion on the floor so that we can discuss it. So I just want to just make sure that this is correct. Recommendation that the advocacy committee write a letter for parents regarding the meeting and the discussion around the 2021-2022 school year plan.
I feel comfortable with that as the motion maker.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
if we could include the affirmation or the approval of the motion based on the recommendation from administration. I think that's always key, that we're not making this decision off on an island, that it was a recommendation from administration to make the decision that we made. And that's what the board approved, and that's what we're going forward with.
Yep. Trustee Poitras, are you comfortable with that? So recommendation that the advocacy committee write a letter for parents regarding our meeting and discussion around the 2021-2022 school year plan, with the recommendation and affirmation coming from central office and administration. Sorry, Trustee Kuhn, was that correct? I was trying to capture that.
Yeah, the approval of the motion to reaffirmate the school reentry plan. Somebody else can help with the words.
Okay.
Yeah, reaffirmation and the recommendation by administration.
Okay. The regarding our meetings and discussion around the 2021 school year plan, and the reaffirmation of our removal and the recommendations that were brought forth to us. Good. That was a lot to try and, Gerald, do you have some of that too? Okay, I tried to wordsmith this as best as I could.
I lost it. I'm hoping that you can send me the motion afterwards.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that I got it now. All right, so Trustee Poitras has made the motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion around it? All right, seeing none, I'm gonna, Trustee Poitras, did you want to close? Okay, so I'll call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, passed. All right, everyone, we are on to D2, future board meetings. After having conversation with Mr. Seguin and Trustee Poitras, with the recommendations coming out of the government and workplaces, I guess we wanted to have a discussion around future board meetings and whether or not we felt that we needed to go virtual, or was everybody still in place? Still good to meet in person. So again, following process, I'm actually going to put a motion on the floor so we can discuss it. And then if nothing changes, then that's how it'll go. Trustee Yegus?
We never ever did put a motion on the floor to go back live. Our last motion that we had, and I can't even remember when it was to be virtual. But there was never a motion saying that we were going to go live.
I think that's because it was out of the motion that was made. And I'm sorry, I do not have it in front of me. So if anybody else can remember, correct me, it was until further notice, yeah.
But there was no further notice made. We just had, the next one was a special meeting where decision was made to go. There was never anything made or discussed about having it in person.
We got Trustee Toon and then Trustee Poitras, because I believe we did.
We didn't have a formal discussion. The chair sent it out, and notice doesn't have to mean through motion, because the notice came from the chair asking it if everyone was okay with returning back to in person, and we sent messages back through text and email saying that we were. So there was a discussion whether we needed a formal motion or not, and it was decided through the discussion that we didn't require one, because we would have had to have a special meeting to have an in-person meeting, and we felt that was a little excessive when we were all in agreement to return to in-person meetings.
Thank you, Trustee Toon. Trustee Poitras?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this was a question that I had asked also, like further notice from who, from the government, from Lori, our chair, or and that was kind of the discussion or the information that I understood is we are waiting for notice from the government that it was safe and appropriate, and also from the chair, and then the notice had come out and we agreed to meet in person via email. So that's why I thought that it had kind of been dealt with. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Poitras. Trustee Yegus?
So I guess my question is, seeing that still is a motion on the books, do we have to make another motion that we go virtual if we want to do it that way, or could we just keep using that motion? That was my whole point. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Yegus. Maybe because it's a new school year, that it wouldn't probably hurt to have another motion on the books. But I am okay with using the old motion too. I guess I'll look to the will of the board if anyone feels any differently. Trustee Poitras?
I guess I would maybe say we could have a little discussion before we decide if we need a motion or not. I know that the government is saying that, you know, where possible, we can work from home and encourage people to work from home. I think that we know that there are certain situations. There's an election coming up, and there will be brand new trustees who will be coming in for certain training. And we know from experience how much better those situations can happen when they're in person. And in a group this size, with the space that we have available for working in, we are able to social distance as well as wear masks, which are mandated indoors currently. And so I feel like maybe it's not something that we need to make a motion on or have be a set thing. Perhaps, you know, before each meeting, we can check and see, you know, is this a meeting, does everyone feel comfortable meeting virtually, or is this something we feel needs to happen in person? But I personally don't feel like this is something we need to make a steadfast motion on. All meetings will be virtual or all meetings will not be virtual. As a board of trustees, I think that those might fluctuate a little bit in the up and coming weeks, months. And so I think that maybe it's something that we shouldn't make a hard and fast rule on.
Thank you, Trustee Poitras. We got Trustee Toon.
I'd agree. The fact of the matter is we only have 2 more regular board meetings as a board before the election, and only 3 total as a board on the books right now. Alberta School Boards Association is having a board chairs meeting in about a week, and they're offering it dual track, where it could be in person with masks, or you can attend virtually. And I think that flexibility has worked well with our board. If somebody's not comfortable attending in person, they have that choice. But I don't think that should force the rest of the board to not attend in person, socially distance, and following all the government guidelines. We got a lot on our plate with what's going on, and the work runs smoother and quicker if we're able to do that in person.
Okay, thank you very much. Trustee Yegus?
Well, I agree with that. And yeah, I was just going to say the same thing Trustee Toon said, that if somebody feels that they don't want to come, that they should be able to do it on virtually, you know, that'll always be the option with it. So that, because, you know, there's a lot more reasons than not feeling comfortable. It's just that if you're feeling sick, then you better go virtually, is my sort of attitude. Okay. But yeah,
Sure.
I agree with Trustee Poitras.
Perfect. That's great. So then, yeah, we'll just leave it as it is right now. We'll still offer in-person and virtual. We won't have a motion on the book stating one way or the other. We'll just keep it so that we are doing one or the other. So that's great. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Lori,
Yeah.
sorry, just can we maybe add it to the list for you and I to just look back at the motion and double check and make sure that there isn't anything that we need to clean up with that motion? Make sure that it did say until further notice and what exactly that means, so that we all are on the same page and feel comfortable with it.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Trustee McKee, was there any comments?
Just a quick comment for myself, you know, like I feel that if I know someone around and I've been in contact with them, I certainly will feel that the necessity that I should meet virtually with you, just with so much of the COVID being present right now. So as for myself, I will probably, I respect the possibility that you can actually attend virtually as well. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee McKee. All right, everybody, that comes to the end of our meeting. Can I get someone to make a motion that the Board of Trustees vote in favor of the meeting being adjourned? Trustee Long at 6:49.
And can I just ask that maybe Clara and Lori stay on, and Daryl, so we can do an advocacy meeting, like, or find a time?
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a good